Hey guys, Steve here from Nova Kettlebell Training. I am back with another reaction video. Before we get stuck in, remember, drop some comments, give me a like, give me a subscribe, share the videos. Let's get stuck straight into it. So guys, I am back and today I'm reacting to a video that I haven't kind of seen for quite a long time, and I am actually in said video. I was just scrolling, looking around on YouTube just to try and find videos of something to react to and give my thoughts on, and I came across one from 2015, and the main focus of the session is not myself. I am not that egotistical yet, but it is of a good friend of mine, Mr. Denis Vasiliev. So again, anybody in the kettlebell sport world knows that Denis is a phenomenal lifter, and this was back in 2015 when he was a little bit more he was on the Russian team, and he was in the more on the international scene before he'd moved over to America. And again, he's still a phenomenal lifter, but this was, I think I have more of an emotional connection to this video because I understand a little bit of the backdrop. I met Denis back in 2013, 2012, and around that when I traveled to St. Petersburg, and I could kind of see the start of the journey of what he was working towards on the 100 reps, and obviously the subsequent years after it was kind of seeing some of that when I got introduced to it. So, but anybody who's ever met him knows that he is a super cool guy, really passionate about the sport. So really do check him out on all socials if you don't, but he's absolutely fantastic. So this is the championships from 2015 in Ireland. FYI, what a cool competition. I met some fantastic people here. Still speak to many people that I met at this competition. I was able to take some of my athletes over there, had a wicked time. The Irish are some of the friendliest, kindest people on the planet, and they can put on a show. And it was absolutely fantastic to be a part of that. So you can kind of see my skinny ass right on the corner of here, so you'll see my head bobbing it in and about, but that is not the focus. The focus is this main man here. And also a massive shout out to a friend who no longer lifts kettlebells, but he had a big impact on my life. Is Mr. Nils Lundgren from Norway. Again, one of the coolest guys you will meet on the planet. So Nils, if you're watching, big love, mate. Hopefully I'll be able to get to see you soon. So let's get stuck straight into this. So what was really cool about this competition as well is the timer setup that they had. Previous competitions I'd been to were kind of small digital timers. But what was really cool is this was all on a kind of just a TV screen, so you could see really clear. And what's really cool as well is it's great for spectators. There's nothing worse than trying to peer over a judge's head, trying to see the results of the lifter, trying to see what's going on and what's happening on platform 1, platform 2. And when they had these big digital displays, it just made life a lot easier, you know. And then we went back to really small counters for some bizarre reason. But that is by the by. So when I first met Denis, he was in like a bit of a transition period. So what he'd say, previous championships that he'd won on his clean, he was doing a shoulder roll. So what that means is as he was cleaning high, he was catching with the shoulders and rolling down. So every time he'd clean up, he'd come down, and he'd been talking about how he'd spent so much time drilling the fact that going straight into rack, not shoulder rolling, not wasting any time. Because obviously Denis had massive aspirations of hitting 100 reps or 100 reps plus. That was his driving factor. That was his goal. And he was very much long cycle driven at that time. Still gone on to done wicked biathlon numbers now, but at the time it was very much about trying to drill for that. So the cool thing about Denis lifting in this position is you can kind of see the speed of second dip, but the how he flips from relaxation to power, relaxation to power. It's kind of like an on-off switch. There's no grindiness. There's no kind of pause, struggle, standing up out of second dip or anything. Denis is just really sat into some really key positions, which allows him to stay strong and to keep lifting time and time again, which is really cool. Another good thing about what I like about Denis is a strong guy. Like, if anybody who's ever met him in person knows that he is just a really, really strong guy. So he plays to his strengths. And this is the thing about kettlebell sport. I talked about it on previous videos, is we look for the principles of kettlebell sport, and then we use our infinite ways of applying our own physiology and our strengths and our weaknesses, etc., and mold them to the principles of the sport. Denis is a super strong guy, so he has got great grip strength. He can pull from certain positions. He can hold the kettlebells in certain ways that potentially other people that don't have his same levels of strength can. So this is why I always talk about, it's not about copying one set technique. It's about looking at the principles of lifting, the relaxation, the speed, and marrying them together with a really good cardiovascular system and the trajectory of the bells, of how we want them to land, shortening that bell path, etc., etc. But we want to make sure that we're playing to our strengths and our weaknesses. So, and Denis obviously blends this really, really well. So, FYI, look at Denis's clean in here. Look at the bell path and how short it is. Okay, so as the bells come down, it looks like they come far away, but they don't. So Denis really deflects quite high up, catches, swings, then comes down. So it's a very shallow J. Now, if you look at this rubbish lifter on the far end here, bam, really pushes them far away and then has to work twice as hard to pull them back in. So we can kind of see that this is why the bell path is really, really important. So this is why we talk about, right, keep the kettlebells close to your center of mass. Best way to think about it is your belly button. FYI, I've just noticed something here. I've never ever noticed this on the video. I'm going to come back a bit. Okay, but because this is really cool. Now, at this time, I was getting coached by a really, really good friend, a legend of a guy called Igor Sporalic. Really, really cool guy. And you can kind of see him coming down here, like floating in the background. Now, they don't really like this happening. And on competitions now, they kind of move it. But at the time, Igor was just shouting at me when to rep. Because at this competition and around about this time, like, I used to struggle massively, like, on the platform. I used to, like, I would get to kind of 5, 6, 7 minutes, put them down. Like, that was me. I would overthink it. I would think I was no good. I didn't think I was strong enough. And I would put them down time and time again. And having Igor there, and also alongside him was Anton Anasenko, who went on to be my coach as well, was shouting rep. But because they were so close and because it was in a sports hall, it was kind of like two angels sat on my shoulder, like, rep, relax, good, stay, okay, looking good, rep, relax, which is really, really cool. So I've just noticed that, and Igor at the back, and it brought that into my mind there. So, but I paused it at a nice, good position. So if we have a look at Denis here, as we go into that acceleration pull, look at how his arms are nice and straight, the bell's straight, he's still got a slight bend in the knee. So what is he going to be able to do? He's going to be able to pull with his body. So as he pushes down, he's pulling his hips up, straightening the legs. That's going to bring the kettlebells straight back into rack. And that's what we're looking at here, is we want to mimic on the clean that drop as we come through that acceleration pull. Okay. And you can kind of see it a little bit on Nils as well. So Nils really drives through, and how Nils used to receive the bells was he would drop his knees and his hips would go forward, and as he would sink into. Whereas if you look at Denis, Denis stands tall. There's not much of knee flexion. There's not much of a knee bend. So as the bells land, soft knee bend just to absorb the weight, but staying in very much straight in rack position. So that would make his jerk portion of long cycle stronger. Okay, so this is why I always try and coach my athletes to try and say when they're getting into their rack position from the clean, you don't want to let the bells take you so far back. You don't really want to have massive amounts of lumbar extension. So you end up here, because as we push up, if we're sort of leaning far back, what's probably going to happen is we're going to push in that position, or we're not in a strong position where we can push straight up. Okay, whereas if we come a little bit more upright, in terms of we want hip extension, we want straight legs, and I'm trying to do this backward, we want kind of hip extension through just enough. We don't want to sort of be breaking at the knees and then really being extended and landing back, because that's really going to knock off first dip, bump phase, etc., etc. So we're in kind of 4.5 minutes now, 40 reps. In this competition, I think I might have done like 43 reps or something. So it's crazy to think like Denis is done like more reps than I did in less than 5 minutes than I did in 10. So funny or depressing, I don't know which one, but it's really cool. So obviously Denis is kind of staying at kind of 9 reps a minute, in and around 9-8 sort of thing, chasing kind of that 90 rep mark. Another good thing about in this video is the speed on Denis's second dip, and this is one thing that we try and iterate all the time. Bosh, relaxation. See how we lose a little bit of balance here. Obviously, it's really starting to fatigue. It's starting to get hard when you're working at that pace. And these judges are super strict. So they want to see that definitive pause overhead. So when you're on the international scene, a lot of judges will have you hold like high fixation for long periods of time. So in some like lesser competitions or just local competitions, kind of get away with getting them up and then straight back down, the rep will count. Whereas on international competitions, they really want to see that pause. And this is what typically catches a lot of lifters out. If you've got a judge who's kind of a massive stickler for that pause and can probably hold you there for half a second longer or a second longer, you got to think, if you're doing a lot of repetitions, that one, eats into your time, but two, it tires you out, man. It's a hard position. Being overhead is tough. So coming up to 6.5 minutes now. Yeah, I was fighting demons at this point, and you kind of see this guy looking up to the wind, I remember I was looking up to a hole in the wall for where there was an extraction fan, and I was like, just stare at that. Don't even look at the clock. Just get out. Just get out of this concept of time. Just look at the wall. Look up, and just do every rep and survive. was the remit on this one, but really cool. And also good to see Nils is still super strong here as well. You know, I forget who this lifter is, so apologies. I believe it might have been a Ukrainian lifter, who is one strong guy. So yeah, we like say we come up to 7 minutes now, and again, Denis is just a machine. Makes this look makes it look easy. But when you see his training and how hard he works in training and stuff like that, he trains mega hard, which is cool to see firsthand. And I haven't seen him train for a long time, so it might be a little bit different now. But his work ethic is through the roof, and I know he really wanted these results, and he put a lot of pressure on himself to achieve great results as well. And he had a fantastic relationship with with his coach Sergei Vichinsky, so he really wanted to deliver great results for his coach at the time. So what's really interesting is if we have a look at this point now, as Denis starts to fatigue and tire, if that's even possible to think of, he is human. But if we look at we're at 8 minutes 20. If we go back to very early on, look at the positions as Denis drops the bells from overhead, and look at the speed. Okay, so let's just look at it. So we go up, bump, quite vertical, then straight into drop. Okay, so speed. So he's staying quite vertical. Everything's going in straight lines. So if we get back to kind of 8 minutes 20, look at the difference on the drop now as Denis starts to get tired and as he starts to fatigue. See how he's leaning back a little bit, he's shifting the weight back. It's a little bit more controlled. And that is just as you start to fatigue, the muscles that keep you nice and upright, you start to tire out. So your variability on your movement, you're not necessarily in a position to be able to hold these key positions for long periods of time. You're just kind of doing what you can. Still moving, still lifting very, very strong, but it's always good just to look at where those differences are, where the breakdown is, so that when you go back to your lifting and reassess, you can kind of see where am I breaking down in these longer sets. So obviously we get Denis is a phenomenal lifter when it comes to sprinting. He's probably somebody who can accelerate something crazy like mad, and he really pushes it in massively, and he's always been able to sprint. I think there was probably a little bit of frustration because he was getting held by the judge. A common thing when you see people wanting to lift, got faster in the last minute. They want to lift, they want to push, but the judge is like, no, I'll let you go a little bit faster, but you're not going to go as fast as you want because we still need to hit the standards of fixation. Okay, and it's quite interesting because just as an aside, in competition, sometimes you find it that if you've been lifting for 6 reps a minute and you get to the last minute and try and go at pace 12, then one, there's going to be a bit of variability in there, but also the judge is going to be thinking, hang on, what's gone on here? How can you go that fast? What's going to be... So they're going to be quite cautious because if you've got to think, the human brain has been looking at you lift for the pace 6 for 9 minutes. You get to the last minute and you try and accelerate. That is just going to send a signal to the brain to go, whoa, this is a complete change of picture here. What's going on? So then they just snap into something where they go, I need to look for this, I need to look for that, and I need to look at all of the criteria which counts of a successful rep. So just an aside. And if you want to see me struggle for the last minute, I start to accelerate here. Anybody who's lifted kettlebells knows that in the last minute, you get this massive surge of adrenaline, like the light at the end of the tunnel, and you just kind of get possessed a little bit and go for it, whilst being in an incredible amount of pain at the same time. It's a unique phenomenon. But Denis has been able to hold it and push and work really, really hard right the way through. You can see he's accelerating. 85 reps. I can't remember what he finished on, but you can kind of see me dying there. I'm high cleaning, trying to catch on the shoulders to pull in. And then Denis is going for the big 9-0. Let's see if he gets it. Let's see. I can't even remember myself. The 2015, a lot's happened since then. Does he get it in? Does he get it in? Does he get it in? Nice, he got it in. 90 reps. And yeah, I remember looking over and just going, man, that's crazy. I was dying myself. And Nils, he's somebody who gives his absolute all to the sport. So yeah, really, really cool competition. So guys, that is it. That is it. That was my reaction to the 2015. There you go, 2015 Kettlebell Sport. Looking at Denis long cycle with a little guest appearance, a little cameo with myself on the end of it. Guys, if you found this useful, if you enjoyed the content, please do comment below. Much love, much appreciated. I'm trying to grow the sport, and the only way that I know how is to speak into the camera and share the love for it. So any feedback, much appreciated. Hit that like, hit that subscribe button, share it with your friends, share it to other people that you're trying to get interested in the sport. But until next time, guys, have a great one. Been a pleasure as always, and we'll catch you up very, very soon.